it was the last 3-4 days that things started to heat up. What's kind of changed in the behind the scenes of the Wizards, where they went from, I don't know, we might wait till the offseason to trade some of these guys, to making both of these moves a day before the NBA's trade deadline? We actually have another Wizards trade, which hopefully means that we will not have to cut time short with our guest that we're about to welcome in. Varun Shankar from the Washington Post is about to join us. But first, as we bring in Varun, we can tell you that the Wizards have traded Jonas Valanciunas. He is headed to the Sacramento Kings for CD Sissoko and 2 second-round picks. Sissoko has been in Sacramento for all of 5 minutes. He was a part of the Spurs-Kings trade for De'Aaron Fox and Zach LaVine the other day, part of that 3-team deal, as you would guess. Sissoko's a 20-year-old Frenchman, because of course he is, because the Wizards have the market cornered on every 20-year-old Frenchman that exists on the entire planet that plays basketball. That's not actually true. It just feels like it. We're going to skip the Not My Beat fancy introduction and just bring in Varun. Varun, it was like a week ago that we were like, I don't know. We'll see if they wind up flipping Valanciunas and Kuzma. And you referenced this in the story you wrote in the Washington Post, that really on the Kuzma side of things, it was the last 3-4 days that things started to heat up. What's kind of changed in the behind the scenes of the Wizards, where they went from, I don't know, we might wait till the offseason to trade some of these guys, to making both of these moves a day before the NBA's trade deadline?
Two things. One, I think they were worse than they expected to be, and when you're as bad as they are, there's not really too much of a reason to hold on to the veterans. You can't get too much worse than they have been this season. And then second, I think they really liked A.J. Johnson. They didn't get a first-round pick in this deal, but A.J. Johnson, in a lot of ways, is a first-round pick. He was selected in this past year's draft, a pick ahead of Keyshawn George, and he's played sparingly. He's been in the G League for most of the year, but if you liked him, and he is advertised as a toolsy guard who needs a lot of refinement, 32 games across the G League and NBA isn't any reason to downplay it if you liked him in the draft to begin with.
Yeah, and that's kind of how I saw it. It's like, man, I would have loved to get a first-round pick for Kuz, but they kind of do. This pick swap is a whole bunch of nothing to me, but Johnson is the big piece in the deal. And then the other guy they get is obviously Chris Middleton, who at 33 is coming off surgery last offseason on both of his ankles, really is just working his way back from that. But when you talk about keeping the room right and the value of veterans and keeping the right veterans around, how important was Middleton to them compared to Kuzma, who made it quite public a couple weeks ago that he was no longer interested in being a good vet and he would like to go get his, and now will get a chance to play for meaningful basketball in Milwaukee?
Yeah, I think Kuzma was a good vet off the court. From everything I've heard, it seems like he did do a lot to help the Wizards young players along in terms of mentorship. I think he was big, especially for Keyshawn George, because they play somewhat similar styles, size-wise in particular. But on the court, he definitely was struggling with the development forward aspect of the organization. Middleton is, from all accounts, a really great locker room guy, and that's important, obviously, for a young team that's losing some veteran leadership now with Kuzma and Valanciunas, and we'll see about Malcolm Brogdon in the next day going out the door.
So you mentioned Valanciunas is going out. He's one that I'm actually kind of surprised in a way, because he is a guy that was on a 3-year deal. We talked about this last week. Like, he's on a very good contract. And he has been a tremendous presence, especially for Alex Sarr. Why was this deal worth it? What do they like? I don't even know if you had a chance to report this. This trade happened 5 minutes ago. What do you think it is about the draft compensation, the 2 seconds, and then ultimately Sissoko that they like here?
Yeah, I'm still in the process of confirming the deal, but assuming it is accurate, I think it's mostly the draft compensation and the fact that you're getting Sissoko, who, again, very recent draft pick. I don't know much about him, but he was taken, and he's young, and he fits with their timeline, and he's kind of a dice roll. With Valanciunas, yes, you did have some time left on his contract. You didn't have to trade him now, but I'm not sure that his value was going to go up. I mean, he's 32 years old, and another year from now, he's obviously a little bit older, a little bit more wear and tear on a guy who's played a pretty rugged style. He's been durable over the last couple of years, and maybe you want to capitalize on that as we can.
Varun Shankar from the Washington Post with us here on the Hoffman Show, their Wizards reporter. Nice enough to give us a few minutes during a very, very busy time, and busier even than expected with the second trade going down. When you think about kind of where this leaves them, though, Varun, like, they have to play the second half of the season, and and we'll see if Brogdon's there, but like, they're going to have like 5 or 6 20-year-olds on this roster, or younger. I mean, really, I guess if you put the line at like 22 and get Keyshawn George under there and all that, like, how do they manage all of this youth and all of this player development at once, as opposed to being able to say, like, all right, hey, you're the vets they're going to follow. Like, all of a sudden, Keyshawn George is like in the top half of oldest dudes on the team.
Yeah, I think for the Wizards, in-game reps are paramount to them. Brian Keefe has a saying he likes to say often, you can't really do the job of playing the NBA until you've gone through the fire. You can't learn how to defend until you've had to do it against a top-tier player and made your mistakes and learned from your mistakes and improved that way. That's what this rest of the season is going to be. You look at their guard rotation right now. I mean, you've got Jordan Poole, you've got Malcolm Brogdon. We'll see what happens there. And then you've got Bub Carrington and A.J. Johnson. Those are two, I think Bub is 19, Johnson is 20. Johnson is, from all accounts, pretty athletic, pretty explosive, but he is like 160 or 170 pounds, and he's played mostly in G League this season. So we'll see what they look like for the rest of the season, but I think for the Wizards, all reps are good reps.
What is next here for Washington? You mentioned Brogdon. Like, what are kind of the rumors, whatever you're hearing now? And then is there a chance that Jordan Poole is also traded in the next 24 hours? And what would it take to pry Poole away from the Wizards?
I would be really surprised if Poole is traded. I think he's had a really great season. I think even despite that season, I don't think his contract is viewed particularly great around the league. I think Wizards also know that they do need someone to score the ball, and that's one of the hardest things for young players to do. Jordan Poole, at minimum, can score the ball consistently, and he allows them to insulate, especially when you trade Kuzma and a guy who can score the ball. You need Poole scoring to kind of offset that. I would be really surprised if they move him. The big guy to keep an eye on as the deadline grows near is Brogdon, veteran guy, can steady your offense, doesn't turn the ball over, can shoot, can defend. I think he's an ideal third guard for a lot of good teams. Question for him is obviously going to be health, but he's also an expiring contract, so the Wizards don't have too much of a reason to keep him. But as we saw with Tyus Jones last year, they might.
Yeah, Will tell us about the cultural deposits if they wind up keeping Malcolm Brogdon. And those are real. Yep. That's not me mocking Will. Like, that's just the term that they like to use. Last thing on the way out for Varun Shankar, Wizards reporter in the Washington Post. You can read his work covering these trades at WashingtonPost.com/sports. With specifically Kuzma, I guess Kuzma and Valanciunas moving out, who are the players that from a minutes and a role standpoint stand to benefit the most immediately? Like, if folks tune in and watch the game against the Nets tonight with those two out of the lineup, obviously, like, what will they notice about the rotation and who is getting not just more minutes, but the ball in their hands more or doing different things that clearly the Wizards want to create room for in making these deals?
I'll start with the minutes side of things. I think you'll see more minutes for Justin Champagnie just because he plays a similar position to Kuzma. You'll also see more minutes for Rashawn Holmes. And because Alex Sarr is still out, you'll also see probably more minutes for Tristan Vucevic, the other center on the roster. Vucevic was a second-round pick in 2023. Stretch 5, been injured for a lot of the season, had occasional flashes. He's got to improve a lot defensively to be able to stay on the court. Champagnie's a really good offensive rebounder. For him, the question is his shooting. I think he shot pretty well this season, but that's been a question for his career. And then as far as who can get the ball more, I think you'll see young guys get the ball more. I think Bilal's going to get more. He's already gotten a lot of on-ball reps. I think you'll see more of that. I think you'll see a lot of on-ball reps for Keyshawn George as they try to see what he could do and what his skill set actually entails, as they still try to figure out the long-term futures of the guys they've drafted.
Varun Shankar, you can read his work at WashingtonPost.com/sports. Varun, I know you got more reporting to do, and we look forward to whatever you scrounge up on the Jonas trade. Appreciate your time. I know you're really busy, dude. Have a good one, and enjoy the game tonight.
Same to you. Thank you so much.
What's up, kiddos? It's your boy Clinton Yates from ESPN. It's the Hoffman Show on the Team 980. Tell your mama I said what's up.